It's that time of year where the Cy Young race is heating up, and honestly, that got me to thinking, how many Cy Youngs would Cy Young have won? And I did a little research, so let's just go right into it and let's find out. So, Cy Young's career started in 1890, and his first few seasons, 1890, 1891, were just some pretty average seasons of rookie and a next year sophomore season. But right into 1892 is where he started to heat up. That year led the entire league in whip and had 9 shutouts, which also led the league. I genuinely think that this would have been the first year he put up some competition for the Cy Young. So honestly, let's throw one up there for the total right now. Back to 1893 and 1894, however, he was outperformed greatly. Amos Rusi would have won so clearly in these past 2 years that it wasn't even really worth debating whether Cy Young would have put up a performance or not. Moving on to 1895, Young comes back and really heats up. He leads the league in wins, which, I mean, wins are wins. I don't know how much you glorify wins or not, like we've seen seasons with DeGrom, who's put up crazy numbers, but not had too many wins because the Mets. For Cy Young, he was first in wins, he was also third in ERA, and he was 5th in strikeouts. Not only that, he also led the league in minor categories like FIP, WHIP, and walks per 9. And believe it or not, he even had 4 saves. The closest competitor to him in 1895 was Pink Holly. However, I genuinely think overall Young had by far the best season, so let's give him number 2. 1896 now, in my opinion, had its most competitive season yet for the award, the hypothetical award. Young again was his dominant self, but he was also being kept up by Fred Killen and also Kid Nichols, 2 other dominant pitchers in that era. Young was up there, but Nichols ultimately and Killen, I honestly think, had better seasons both. Killen, in fact, had 44 complete games that season, which is nuts. He also led in wins, complete games, obviously. He was 3rd in strikeouts, and he was top 10 in ERA. Dominant performance. Of course, Young was up there. No way Killen isn't winning it this year. In 1897, Young didn't actually lead in anything. This one, again, I think it would have gone to Rusi or maybe back to Kid Nichols. 1898, same thing. Pulled a bit of those few minor categories back into the first place column, but again, nothing much because he was way outdone by Kid Nichols yet again. Moving on to 1899, still was outdone, and so 3 years in a row now. This year's winner would have been either Vic Willis or, believe it or not, Noodles Hahn. 1900, the turn of the century, still not Young's best year. This year was completely overtaken by Rube Waddle, one of the greatest pitching seasons of all time. Speaking of one of the greatest pitching seasons of all time, 1901 is considered Cy Young's greatest pitching season of all time. In 1901, he was the clear hypothetical Cy Young winner. He led in 10 of 28 relevant pitching stats on Baseball Reference for this year. He even posted a 1.62 ERA over 43 games and 38 complete games. 38 complete games with an ERA that low is just completely unheard of and one of the best seasons ever. 1902 was actually a crazy pitching year for a lot of pitchers. There were 30 pitchers, in fact, that had an ERA under 3. Vic Willis, again, was probably taking home the Cy Young this year, though. 1903, way more competitive than those past few years. Some leaders in certain categories struggled in other categories. Some ERA leaders didn't have that many strikeouts. Honestly, in my opinion, I think Young had the best and most consistent season out of the entire league. I'm going to give it to him. Moving on to 1904, it was another great season. How many times have I said that? However, this season was totally outdone by Rube Waddle again. Waddle threw 349 strikeouts that year, which was 110 more than second place. Spitballs, dirtballs, whatever you want to call them, that's 110 more than anyone else had performed that year. Same thing here with 1905. Waddle and also Christy Mathewson entered the picture. Them two just couldn't be beat. And that leads us into 1906 through 1911. Young was approaching the end of his career and again still put up some great pitching numbers. However, didn't live up to the numbers that he had posted in years past. I don't think he would have won any more in his career, unfortunately. So that brings us to our conclusion. In my completely professional YouTube content creator opinion, I think he would have won 4 Cy Youngs.